Hey, hey you. Rectum damn near killed him. What does that mean? Well, that, my friends, is a punchline to a very funny joke. Of course, if you don't know the joke, then the punchline probably isn't as funny. It's the same way as a man without beard. What is a man without beard? A husk of himself. He's a punchline with no joke. And nobody wants that because you won't get it. So if you want to be my bureau and not only provide me with a frothy adult beverage every now and again, but also, more importantly, provide free education for my students here in Cambodia who don't pay me anything. All you have to do is go to the link you see on your screen and donate today. It's very, very simple. And if you do, you'll become a bureau just like the following people have. Stay tuned for the video. I can never line this up right. I don't know why. Enjoy the video. What's up, guys? It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a bit early for me, but I had to get up early this morning anyway. Couldn't go back to sleep. Thought it'd be a good time to go get some things done at the market. And make this video. As the title implies, somebody wanted a video about the pros and cons of teaching English in Cambodia and specifically Siem Reap. And that's a good idea for a video, I think, if you're one of the many people I know of that are thinking coming to Cambodia once all the travel bans are lifted and everything. I said in a previous video, this is a great time. Even if your plans are canceled, it's a great time to prepare yourself further by getting information, saving up more money and things like that. But I will give you the pros and cons as I see them. My experiences and opinions are, of course, my experiences and my opinions. It may not apply everywhere. So first one, the pros. I don't know if this is going to be true after this whole pandemic thing is over, but Siem Reap is not a big place. There are way more schools and way more students in Phnom Penh, but I think Siem Reap is the better place to live. Again, that's my opinion. But even in Siem Reap, even though it's not as large, there are a lot of schools, almost 200 in total, international schools. So the jobs, they are available. There are a few, select few, that might even work with you before you come here, if you apply. They maybe give you a foot up, I guess you could say, when you're sure of your travel plans and things like that. Like doing it right now would be a waste of time because the schools, of course, are closed. But when the time comes and the travel bans are over and you have your plans to come here maybe a month ahead, there are a few select schools that might work with you ahead of time. But if not, there are still plenty to choose from once you get here. So that's a pro. That's a good thing. Lots of schools to apply for. The con is that, unlike other countries, and perhaps even more so in Phnom Penh, Siem Reap is still mainly, for the majority, done the old-fashioned way. That's a big unknown if you never moved to another country before. It's a matter of getting out, boots on the ground, as they say, walking or getting a ride from school to school to school, handing out your CV or resume packet, whatever you want to call it, making sure that's correct, and then it's a waiting game. And I know mentally that waiting game can be difficult because you go out every day, you're hitting up 10 different schools, and maybe they haven't emailed you back, maybe they haven't called you back, and you might begin to worry and stress out about finding a job. Trust me, the job will come. And there are a lot of schools that are smaller, and you might never hear from them. They don't like to give bad news here. We're going to talk a little about that saving face aspect in a minute. But so sometimes, if you're not the right fit for whatever reason, you might never get an email or a phone call, not even to say, I'm sorry, we're going with someone else, or that kind of thing. But it will happen. But the waiting can be hard, especially, as I said, you're in a new country and the move is already stressful enough. And then having that uncertainty, not even knowing if you're getting a job before you come here, that kind of adds to the stress. But I want to assure you that if you hit the payment, hit it hard, and treat it like a real job search, you're going to be fine. You'll find a job. I just can't guarantee how soon or how long after you apply. But the more prepared you are for that, the more prepared you are for your interviews and your demo lessons you'll probably have to give, the better off you'll be when they do call. And keep in mind, sometimes you might get a call when you least expect it from a school you even forgot you applied to. That has actually happened to me. The first school I taught at was a part-time job, so that wasn't ideal. But since I had no practical in-class experience in Cambodia, they gave me a foot in the door. But of course I kept applying and looking for full-time school. And eventually it happened. But I got a call from a school that I had applied for. Like one of the first ones I applied at when I did my first day of taking a tuk-tuk around and handing out my packets. And I had forgotten all about them. As I was talking to the person on the phone, I kept trying to think of, they told me the name of the school, told me I had applied, but I had no idea where it was. Didn't remember doing it because you're going out and hitting up so many, you might forget. So you never know. An application that you don't hear from for a couple months might one day turn into a full-time job. So don't be discouraged there. Now I did go eventually to a school. I worked full-time, had a full-time salary at the beginning and all that. So another pro I think, is that you do have different options available. Maybe some of you want to work just part-time. That can be a pro if that's what you're looking for. It all depends on how you look at it. Another pro is that if a school is interested in you, it's a fairly painless process. Yeah, you'll have an interview, maybe even two. You will probably have to do a demo lesson plan. But if you get that far, chances are it's because they are interested in you and you probably got the job. They usually don't go that far unless they see something in you that tells them you'd be a good fit. So if you get called in for an interview, that is a very, very good pro. It's not standard. Usually they won't call you in and waste your time or waste theirs unless they're interested. And I know in some places and some other types of jobs you might get the interview because it's part of that business's plan. It's part of their business practice to interview everybody to make it seem fair, but you're still might not get hired. But here you get an interview. It's a very good thing. Consider that a pro. Now the con is that it's difficult sometimes to know if you're going to the right school. Just because the school is newer or bigger or it appears fancier on the outside than some other schools, that doesn't mean it's necessarily a better school. Like I said, the first school I taught at was part-time, but the instructors and everybody, the director and the assistant director, they were awesome. You could tell they really cared. Oftentimes they would come in and monitor my class. They would just sit in the back, see how things are going, make sure I was doing my job, and everything like that. I got to the full-time school, the school where I was full-time, and I didn't get any of that. I didn't get any feedback. So at times it was difficult to tell if I was doing an okay job, if there were things I needed to improve on, what things they were really happy with. So I had to rely simply on I had to be honest with myself and determine if the progress of my students was good enough for what I wanted them to learn. And that can be hard for some people to be honest with themselves. Luckily, I don't have a problem with that. Well, my first school was very open and honest. They would always say, and they would talk to their students, unbeknownst to me, and ask how I was doing, and then they would give me their feedback. And it's always nice when the majority of it is positive, and they liked what I was teaching and they were learning. And if there were any issues, the director or the assistant director would talk it over with me in a very nice way. They would say, hey, the students are saying they just want you to write on the whiteboard more, or something like that. Just that little feedback that lets me know what they want, what's easier, how it's easier for them to learn. So it was pretty cool. Like I said, the bigger school never did that. They kind of gave you your stuff, left you to your own devices. So a con can be not actually knowing if you're making the right choice. You can't really judge by their websites or anything if they have them, because of course they're putting the most positive foot they can forward, which is understandable and very good business. Another pro is that if you really like teaching, I mean, if that's something you really enjoy and you're not doing it just for a job, or just to have something to do, hang on a second. But I mean, if you really like it, I think you'll like teaching here. A lot of schools will have their own curriculum, and that's a pro. You don't have to come up with it by yourself. They have their own, so you know what you're going to teach every day. You just have to put together a lesson plan on how you want to teach it, what activities you want to use with it, what kind of games you're going to play, or and sometimes you have to make your own tests. But for the most part, the hard work is done. Now the con to that is sometimes the curriculum they use is antiquated, it's old, it's been copied and passed down from class to class, and it's not that good. There are a lot of grammatical and spelling errors in them sometimes, so if you're trying to give them spelling words and the word is not spelled correctly, you have to tell them, hey, I know we've been studying out of this book, and we should be studying out of this book, but don't pay attention to this word. Here's how you spell it. I remember specifically the first time I noticed this was with the word guitar. They failed to put the R at the end of the word guitar, and I had to tell them, this is one of your spelling words, but here's how you actually spell it. Simply because schools don't have a lot of money, especially if they're paying foreign teachers that amount of money every month. The second school I taught at, I was making $1,000 a month, which is about average. So they can't really afford books or supplies, so that can be a big con. You've got to come in prepared yourself, sort of. Be sure to go through the books and everything you're going to teach before you start teaching. Make sure you correct any grammatical or spelling errors, and that does give you a little extra work that you're not getting paid to actually do. But if you like teaching, as I said, it's a positive that you not only notice, but that by doing so, you're giving your students the best educational experience they can get. And I think a pro is that for living in a place like Cambodia and Siem Reap, a full-time teaching job, you're working 5 or 6 hours a day, and the average salary is the same as it's been for a while, which is $1,000 a month. Another pro, you get paid in cash. The con is that you get paid once a month generally, and there is no direct deposit in most schools or anything like that. You get paid once a month. It will be in cash. But if you got to wait a whole month to get paid, when you do get paid, you have to budget your money. So that would be the con. You will have to learn how to budget your money so that halfway through the month you're not broke, and then have to wait another 2 weeks before you get paid. Now, one of the biggest cons I think I have, and my main reason, if people are wondering why I don't just go back and teach at a school and do my free stuff part-time, which has been suggested to me so many times and I've answered it so many times. So hopefully this will put it to rest. Listen, my biggest con is this. This is a hierarchical society in Cambodia. That means saving face and not losing face is extremely important, so you are respected by others. I mean, there are certain things you're going to find here you won't find in other countries, you won't find in the West, and one of those things is being honest about the abilities of people and students and things like that. So what I'm saying is, it makes the whole family lose face if you have a child who's not learning for whatever reason, hasn't learned, and then you have to tell the parents, hey, they did not pass their tests, they can't move on to the next grade with their friends. This is very embarrassing. This is a great loss of face. And so you can make that recommendation. I don't think they're ready, but for the most part, they're going to be passed right through anyway, which means they're going to go to a level and not even know the basics of the level they were already through, so they can advance to the next level. If they don't know the foundations, they're not going to get what you're teaching next. And of course, which is why you have people graduating and they still really have no good grasp of English grammar, verb tenses, anything like that, because they just get passed with everybody else. They get their little diploma and the family is happy. They don't lose any face. I learned that early on. When you come here, you might ask somebody, a tuk-tuk guy, let's say, a tuk-tuk driver, do you know where this certain place is? He's going to say yes without hesitation. The majority of the time, they do not know where they're going. They don't know where it is. But again, saying no, they would feel like they have lost face with you, or they feel like they might have made you lose face. Because if they ask again or say, I don't know, it might assume that you misspoke, that you said something, and it makes you feel dumb. So the standard answer here for anything is yeah. Even if they have no idea what you asked. And unfortunately, some of the education institutions are the same way. You have to remember, they're not schools like you imagine them. These are all the places you are going to get hired as a foreigner teaching English here are international schools. These schools are for-profit. They are in business for themselves, independently owned and operated. They are there to make a profit. And if word gets around that children are not passing grades and passing tests, they're going to lose business. So they just skirt that issue by taking your recommendations and then doing what they want anyway. And for me, that was the biggest con. Because you feel like if 95% of your class passed their tests, they did the work, then you got 5% who didn't for some reason. Well, you know, they shouldn't be allowed to move on. And doing this my way with the students I teach for free, I have that option. There's a way to do it nicely without implying that, you know, your child is dumb or stupid, because that is never, ever, ever the case. And it's never anything I would imply or say to a student or a parent. And so I'm much happier and much better off doing this than I would be where sometimes it just feels like no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. If they're going to graduate anyway, they're just going to pass anyway, then why should I bother doing my best job to teach them? It's easy to get that mentality, and it's not the correct mentality for teaching, obviously, but it can happen. So that is the biggest con for me. Now, people who are coming over here and you're willing to work within that system, still do the best job you can, that is great. I'm not discouraging you from doing that. I think Siem Reap is a great place to live. Cambodia is a great place. And of course, everything I said does not apply to every school, every educational institute, or anything like that. But it does happen enough where it does concern me. So, there we go. The pros and cons of teaching here. Great place to live. You'll get really good money for here. $1,000 a month is really good money in Cambodia. Really, really good money. Way more than enough than you need to live. But on the other hand, you will have to put up with some of the cons. You have to find your way around the system, how to first get the job, what to do in an interview and all that. But that's all right. All right. That was my one subject I had for this video. Don't forget to check out all my links down below if you want to donate and help support my free education program. That would be awesome. I also have a Patreon if you want to join that. No matter which one you choose, you will receive exclusive videos specifically for just my supporters. At least one a week. You'll get class updates that I don't post anywhere else. You'll get other goodies as they become available. All of my books are down below. I have one called about moving to Cambodia, Live in Cambodia, a guide for living in the Kingdom of Wonder. And that one is all about what it sounds like. But I also have a couple other books. Those links are all down below. If you need your TEFL certificate, I recommend the International TEFL Academy, and that link is down below to get you started there for free. You can get started, download some brochures, talk to an advisor, that kind of thing. All my social media is down below, and other channels you should be watching in Cambodia are down below. All right. That does it for me from Sa Samaki. And I will talk to you guys in the next one.